Okay, you made it to week number 2. This is class 1, week number 2. We're working on, right now, shirt grabs. This is a front shirt grab in this particular technique. This particular technique, we're looking at Koshi-Guruma, and we're going to be using still Senpai Brandon and Sensei Melanie. Here we go. What we want to try to do is try to avoid having them land on our leg or slide on our leg. So he's going to bring it up and around, and it should drop right in the front. Okay, just like that. All right, we'll have Sensei Melanie demonstrate real quick. He grabs her around the shirt. A prayer position comes up. She wraps around the head, comes in, hip goes through, up on the body, and right down in front of her, just like that. One more time, please, ma'am. Same angle, if you don't mind. Okay, next we're going to work on the shirt grab from the Kotegaeshi. So it's a wrist turning technique. So they're grabbing your shirt with one hand, maybe threatening to punch you. You're going to use this technique to not only take them down, but to lock up the wrist. Action. So he goes and grabs the shirt with one hand like that. See how the palm is up like that? That's an indicator. She goes ahead and gives him a distraction with a palm strike. Steps equal or greater than his fist, and brings him down just like that. Now the body does the work with this Kotegaeshi, this wrist twist. One more time, ma'am, if you don't mind. Nice and slow. So he grabs like that. So the first thing happens is she does that, and her thumb goes underneath his hand. See this right there? That thumb is on the back of his hand. That palm strikes there. Now her front foot steps equal or greater than his foot. She now steps behind him as the other hand goes on the wrist. Now her body twists and creates the lock there. Okay, great. You guys switch if you don't mind. So she grabs him with one hand. Now that hand right there could be threatening to punch or whatever. So he grabs that and distracts her, hits her with a palm strike, and grabs both hands. One foot steps equal or greater. The other foot steps. The lead front, equal or greater, and comes around. One more time. One more time. So she grabs him the wrist, palm up. He goes ahead and distracts. Grabs both two hands, equal or greater than her foot, steps behind, and does that twist right there. Now that twist creates a torque on the wrist where she has to fall. That's the Kotegaeshi. Okay, now we're at take the back. This is a super important thing, whether they're inside your guard or you're on top of the mount. Right now we're going to be working on from the guard position and being able to take the back from there. Okay, so Sensei Melanie's in the guard. What Senpai Brandon is going to do is he's going to push that arm across and reach over and grab the other side. Now that hook there stays really close. Now what he has to do now is start inching himself over, shrimping away. Shrimp crawl is very important. Now see how he comes up on that arm there? That's going to create a base. Now take a look at his legs. Over-trapping the hips so she can't get away. He starts pulling the leg through and climbing straight up, and both hooks go in. He goes over the top and keeps the head close to her body, just like that. Okay, one more time, please. So in Sensei Melanie's guard, or she's in his guard. He wants to get out, so she starts putting that arm there. He pushes it across, reaches over, and grabs it and hooks. Nice and tight there. Now he starts inching away, shrimping, crawling away, till he comes up on the base. He scoots the head back, and puts both hooks in, and hooks the seatbelt on and underneath her body. Just like that. That's taking the back from the guard position. Okay, now we're going to talk about taking the back from the mounted position. This time Sensei Melanie is going to demonstrate the taking the back when she's in the mount and they're actually trying to roll away from. Okay, she's in the top mounted position. Brandon starts to move to the side. She comes up. Now freeze right there. When she comes up, now notice the leg back here. The front leg has moved up like that. The knee has come up. So go back one more time for me. So when she comes up and he moves, now one of the telltale signs, you see how that arm and leg and everything had to move? All right, one more time, go back. Before he ever crossed, he had to move his torso, and that kind of indicated which direction he's going, and that foot comes up. She's giving him enough space there. And what happens now, he starts coming up on all fours. Now, notice that hook goes right in there, just like that. Now, what she's doing is giving him space So she's not laying on him until the very end. Now notice also she's sitting back. She's not so forward that she will fall off of Brandon. No, she's sitting back. Now her head is tucked to the shoulder there, always tucked in. Always tucked in. You don't want your head up at any time. And now from this point, she'll bring her heels in and her feet off the ground into a full back ride position, or what we call the backpack. Okay, all right, that is it. Let's do it one more time. Brandon rolls to the side. The hip comes up. She scoots with him, brings the hooks in, underneath, and feet off the ground. Boom, that is the full back pack position, and take the back from the mount. Now that you've gotten the back position, what do you do from there? Well, the first thing that we're going to try to accomplish in this case is a rear naked choke. We want to make sure that we are doing it properly, so we're going to break it down for you in pretty much strong detail. Speaking of strong, we have the strong side rear naked choke and the weak side rear naked choke. We're going to start with the strong side. Okay, here we are in the back position. She's nice and tight. Now here's the secret. The strong side is always the side where the arm is over top. So in our backpack, we've got one arm under and one arm under. Okay, one over and one under. The one that's over the shoulder is always the strong side. So now as Brandon rolls to her strong side, just like that, what's going to happen now is that bottom hand grasps this hand here. She's preventing anything from happening. Then she frees the other hand and puts it on the shoulder. Boom, just like that. Okay. Now that's nice and tight. Now, if Brandon's chin is not down towards the elbow, she'll push it with her fist, maybe even a punch. Then the back of her hand comes up and slides underneath. See how that grabs her arm there and all the way underneath. Now her head stays at the junction, okay? It's not on the back of his neck or in the head or anything like it. It stays on the junction. This keeps him from being able to hit her, eye gouge her, or anything else. She's very safe from this position. Now what she does is she kind of hugs like a pillow here until she gets the choke, just like that. All right, one more time. From the strong side. She's taking the back like the last position. One hand over, one hand under in a seatbelt. The head is to the side. He falls to her strong side, just like that. She hooks the hand, pulls it in, wraps to the chin, the shoulder, releases the hand, punches the chin, boom, and gets underneath there, hooks, her head's at the junction, and squeezes there. Now here's one thing to notice. Notice her feet are not crossed. We do not want crossed feet. Crossed feet can become a problem for you, so we want to avoid that and keep the feet open and the heels and the hips. And that is the strong side choke. Okay, now we're going to talk about the weak side choke. Like I said, mentioned just a second ago, the weak side is the arm that is underneath. Now, he falls to that weak side, just like that. What's going to happen here is that top hand reaches over to the shoulder, lifts the shoulder up, she clears the hand and drops him into the arm. She makes him move his chin, and then the same type of position. Head goes to the junction, feet are in the hips, just like that, and she does the same squeeze. Good. And one more time. And we want to practice this super slow like this. There's no rush. Strong side, weak side. He falls to the weak side. Just like that. First thing she does, pick up the shoulder, free her arm, and bring that up and under to the junction and squeeze just like that. That is the strong side and weak side. The last one was the weak side choke. Okay, week 2. We are on class number 2. Lesson number 1 is a straight arm choke and a double hand choke. So straight hand choke and a double hand choke. How do you defend against it? Well, we're going to learn that right now in this class. So you want to make a straight line elbow strike. Close it up. Straight line just like that. Now let's peel back here so we can see his feet at the same time. So he's going to cross that, hands come up, over, and straight into it like. Okay, now we're going to do the double-handed choke. His arms come up in the iron guard. He ducks down, and delivers a super slap right here. Bang, just like that. One more time. Hands come up, spins over, and pow. Now let's do the other angle if you guys don't mind. Note he doesn't just duck down, he actually steps a little bit when he comes in. He steps a little bit to the side. See that step there? And super slap. Good. Now that super slap is going to cause a lot of quite a bit of a concussion blow to the eardrum, and it's very painful. Let's look at that one more time. Here, hands come up, guarding, underneath, and bang! They hit just like that. Okay, that is the two-handed defense. Okay, now we're working on a defense against a punch, and you're doing a back body clinch to a drop. All right, this is kind of detailed, but it's very similar to a technique we've already done against a bear hug. So here is the defense against a kind of a haymaker punch when you get the back. Here we go. So she cuts underneath there, like that. It goes right to the center, and now she sits down and over. Good. Notice how the hand is out. Okay, we're going to try that again. And look at it from this angle here. She ducks under with the iron guard, gets to the center of the back. Right there, she sits on her hip. Pulls that arm out, and there it is. One more time. That was really good. She ducks under that, gets to the center of the back. Leg goes across, sits down, and pulls the arm out. Good. Okay, next we're looking at the leg hook takedown. Now there's lots of variables in the leg hook takedown, and we'll go over those in class, the variables. This is kind of just a basic video to give you the understanding of the technique itself. So this is the leg hook takedown. Okay, here we go with the leg hook takedown. Now here's the thing, she's already got a body clinch. Her head is close to the chest. Now what happens is this foot comes into the center of his body, just like that. Okay, and now the other leg that's here hooks around just like that. Notice how she's got a seat belt on here. Now the reason the foot is in the center is to keep good balance. Okay. From there, what Sensei Melanie does is lift that leg up and drives them into the ground just like that. One more time. Now you want to make sure you lift that leg up, kind of put her in the air the best you can. It doesn't actually have to be a lot, actually. Just a little lift and drive to that angle, just like that. So, see, she's driving to the angle where the leg is not on the ground any longer. It's hooked and taken care of. So there, that center foot comes in, she drives to the angle, and down he goes, just like that. Okay. All right, one more time. She gets a clinch, foot in the middle, hook, lifts, and drives to the angle, just like that. That's the leg hook takedown. Okay, y'all, next up we have the punch block series. Now, this has got a lot of moving parts to it. There's 5 parts to it altogether, and it's quite complicated, so take your time with it. We're going to have Sensei Melanie and Senpai Brandon demonstrate. Okay, so here we are in a position where Sensei Melanie is in her guard. Notice how she's got her guard up, prepared to protect her face. Her hands are resting on the forehead because we don't want a concussion blow coming and creating a blow where we actually hit our own cells through the force of their blow. So when he brings a punch in, she's going to reach all the way. Now go back and rewind real quick for me, nice and slow. She reaches, and look how that reaches all the way through. Now what we don't want to do is reach halfway through and get a kind of like a karate block, but rather we want to create a barrier. So rewind one more time. She's going to reach all the way through, creating a barrier, boom, and trap that in tight. And notice how she hugs the head. Now, here's one of the key elements of this. Her head is super close to his. At this point, if you look, since Senpai Brandon cannot really hit her in the face or anything else, he's pretty much trapped inside here. Her feet are trapped inside the guard position. This elbow is locked down his arm, nice and tight. So she's in a pretty safe position. That is the punch block number 1. Let's see that one more time. So he brings down a punch. She angles her head. Now that's another key. She angles her head. She doesn't want to stay directly underneath the line of attack. She wants to get her body offline to avoid getting punched. One more time, please. So notice how she angles and shoots it and tucks it, hugs the head, and then close. That's number one. Now, one strike that he can do, moving on to number two, is to take this free hand here and punch to her ribs like this. When that happens, she's going to make a barrier with her elbow and her knee. So go back one more time, demonstrate just the barrier there. So he goes to punch. See that elbow and knee makes a barrier. Now see how the hand is going to come up pretty close to her head at the same time on the knee and the barrier. Go back one more time. That hand, the elbow's blocking, it creates a complete barrier here. Now she pushes with her elbow the arm back and into the crook of his arm there. You see that position there? She's creating pressure on the back of the tricep, the bend of the arm with her knee. Her knee is pushing out and her hand is pulling in slightly to keep pressure there. Okay, so now he may try to strike with the other hand on that side. She does the same thing. She created a barrier and she made this into the crook of the knee, bend of the arm there, pressing in, creating a barrier. Now she's kind of keeping that pressure so he can't get his arms out. So he tries to get his arms out and it's pretty stuck right there. Okay. At some point what she can do is let him back in to position number one. Just like that. Okay. And she keeps those feet crossed there into the guard position. So he tries to pound her in the ribs again and she blocks it and hooks it. Blocks it and hooks it and creating pressure. He goes to strike the face. She brings him down into number one. Boom, and underneath, hooks and tight. Now, that's 1 and 2 of the punch block series. Here's the thing. He may try to sit up and away from you, and you lose control. So what happens is you put your knees right in the chest there. Pinch your knees together is super important, okay? And you're heisting your hips off the ground, as you can see right there. The hands are then still in the iron guard shield, protecting, okay? Now he cannot punch her face from here. See how she's safe there. When he tries to punch in, she'll bring him back into position number one. Now, notice that she moved her head offline. So go ahead and into number 3 again. He sits up, she loses it, boom, she puts up, she heists her hips. He can't strike her from there, okay? Now, from that position, he may do a straight punch, and she simply changes her angle and drops him back into position number 1. Okay, going into position number 4, he may sit up and try to stand up. She brings her feet in his hips, continues the guard right here, the iron guard. Now, he cannot strike her in the face from here, okay? At some point, she may drop him back down by changing the angle of her body and lowering him back down like an elevator, repeating the same process there. Okay, so he stands up and disengages, but still trying to fight her here. He's punching at her face. At some point, she may let him back in, lower him down like an elevator, changing her angle and switching back into number 1. Okay, he may stand up and go into number 5. Number 5 looks like this. He's on top here. He throws the leg up. Now she wants to push that foot across to the other side. Now we're going to do this nice and slow. He throws that foot across. She takes that foot and puts it over top of her own and on the side and back into position. So he throws it. She reconnects and put it back into position. At some point, she may choose to let him back in to position number 1. So she lowers, she cuts, and holds back into position number 1. Okay, so now let's look at all of them in sequence here. She's in the guard position, and he comes in for a punch. She goes into number 1. Good. He decides to go ahead and strike the rib cage, where she blocks, hooks, and perfect. He tries to sit up even more. She brings her knees together like that, hands in, and now he tries to stand up. He stands up, just like that. He can't punch her from here, so he tries to throw the feet over, and she hooks and back into position. Now at this point, he tries to come in, so she goes ahead and brings him back in to number 1. That, guys and gals, is the punch block series 1 through 5. It's very complicated, but practice it over and over again, and you'll get it.